US-Bangladesh Partnership Dialogue. I again thank her and her delegation for coming to Dhaka for this dialogue. We had a frank and elaborate and quite fruitful discussion today on the whole gamut of the bilateral relations between our two countries, encompassing political, economic, and security domains. This year's partnership dialogue is especially significant for two reasons. First, we will be soon celebrating the 50th anniversary of the establishment of the diplomatic relations. The date is precisely on 4th April 2022, the very day our Honorable Foreign Minister is holding a bilateral meeting with the US Secretary of State, His Excellency Antony Blinken. Secondly, as we all went through, the COVID-19 pandemic barred us from holding our regular dialogue mechanisms in the last 2 years. This partnership dialogue is indeed the first one with the Biden administration and also the first among a series of dialogues scheduled in the coming months. Thus, Bangladesh is considering today's discussion as the beginning of a rejuvenated, robust engagement with our US friends. Bangladesh deeply values its multifaceted relations with the United States, which is based on our shared liberal values of upholding democracy and human dignity, commitment towards maintaining international peace and security, and aspiration for socio-economic development of our people. In fact, our political, economic, security, and people-to-people relations are based on this ideological pivot. While we have discussed the areas of excellent mutual cooperation like Rohingya issue, COVID-19 vaccine support, US development assistance, capacity building in security sector, etc., we have also exchanged views on areas of yet untapped potentials like exchange of high-level visits, investment, trade facilitation, connectivity, stronger defense and security cooperation, etc. I think both sides also have taken this opportunity to better understand each other and explain respective positions on some issues. For example, we have raised deep concern about the recent US Treasury sanctions imposed on RAB and related individuals, and not only explained how this might affect the efforts of Bangladesh government to combat terrorism and transnational crimes, but also elaborated our government has been addressing the challenges. We look forward to continuing our discussion in this regard. We also explained our position on issues like democratic practices, media freedom, labor rights, and religious harmony. We also had in-depth discussion on ways and means of enhancing trade and investment and possible cooperation in blue economy. We exchanged our views on the Indo-Pacific strategy and also shared our perspectives on national, regional, and global security and geopolitical scenario. Our two sides indeed expressed our willingness to cooperate each other in UN peacekeeping operations and expressed willingness to continue our bilateral collaboration in security and defense domains. This is an area on which we would have further detailed discussion in the upcoming security and defense dialogues. In the area of economic cooperation, including trade and investment, we look forward to have further discourse in upcoming high-level economic partnership consultation in early June and possible next round of TICFA this year. Altogether, I would say that Bangladesh delegation is happy and satisfied with today's discussion. I recall that partnership dialogue has principally been aimed at providing an umbrella discussion forum to take stock of the progresses made in other sectoral dialogues. However, with the changed context of the prolonged pause due to the pandemic, this particular partnership dialogue is indeed acting as a triggering device for further discussions in upcoming sectoral dialogues. I am sure we would be able to take stock of the sectoral progresses in the 9th partnership dialogue next year. Finally, I would say, and in fact this is what we have told to our US colleagues today, that Bangladesh has high expectations from the Biden administration in terms of building a comprehensive partnership. Bangladesh will remain keen in this regard with the view to work closely with the US in our journey together towards peace and prosperity. Thank you, Madam Undersecretary.
Thank you, Foreign Secretary Momen, for this spectacularly warm hospitality that we've had here in Dhaka today for our interagency delegation. We are so pleased and proud to be back on the road and to be in Dhaka to start the celebration of this 50th anniversary of our partnership. As the Foreign Secretary said, we have not been able to have this dialogue for almost 2 years as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, so we are really pleased to be back in town now to energize and deepen and thicken our already really, really strong partnership. And that's what we worked on today. As the Foreign Secretary said, in the security realm, in the political realm, in the economic realm, in the human rights realm, in the business realm, and obviously with regard to health security. And we are just the appetizer on a very big feast that we are going to have this year. The next will be the visit of the foreign minister, Momen, to Washington to see my boss, Secretary Blinken, on April 4th. We will also have the high-level economic dialogue later this year, the security dialogue, a separate defense dialogue in Hawaii, and we have a new U.S.-Bangladesh Business Council, which we have to take full advantage of, and we plan to. This dialogue, this conversation today comes at a vital global moment for peace and security. You are all watching the horrible pictures coming from Ukraine in the context of Russia's unprovoked aggression against that country. I think you know that the U.S. and our allies and partners worked for months and months and months to try to bring Russia to the negotiating table with Ukraine, with our support, to try to prevent this war. Moscow did not listen and chose instead to invade, and you are seeing the horrible pictures of apartment complexes being bombed, maternity hospitals, innocent civilian victims all over the country, and violations of sovereignty, territorial integrity, and the basic fundamental principles of international law and the UN Charter. We had a rich conversation of that as well today, and about the important inflection point this is for the battle between autocracies and democracies around the world. We know what kind of societies we are trying to build and the way democracies protect their people and need to deliver, both in security terms, in economic terms, in terms of freedom. And Russia is showing what the alternative looks like. So this is a moment for all free nations, all free people, to stand together with the people of Ukraine and say this war must end. And we did have that conversation today. We also talked deeply about enhancing and broadening business and trade relations, about human rights, about our great partnership in health security. I am very proud that the United States has contributed some 61 million doses of vaccine here in Bangladesh, the largest amount anywhere around the world, and $131 million in support for the pandemic. And you, in turn, have gotten 80% of your population vaccinated, one of the highest records in the world. You might even be surpassing us, so congratulations on all of that. And you have an economy that's continued to grow and prosper during these difficult times. So we have already a very strong, deep, 50-year-old partnership. We can do even more together, and we will, and that's what this year of action that we've kicked off is really about. Thank you, Foreign Secretary, for this great meeting.
Are we going to have more sanctions?
Yeah,
Are we going to have more sanctions?
this is Rtv News Shows. I represent Bangla Daily. As your counterpart mentioned that in 4th of April we are going to celebrate the 50th anniversary. So in the days ahead, so what sort of engagement you want to see between Bangladesh and US? And the second issue, in last December, you imposed a sanction on RAB as well as current and former officials. So whether you have touched upon the issues of sanction and what is the latest update on that particular issue? Thank you.
Can I add to that?
Do you want to start, or you want to start? So first of all, in terms of where we want to take this relationship, we spoke about it a little bit, but in the context of the broader Indo-Pacific strategy that the U.S. is working on with all of our regional partners and allies, we think we can do more in the area of growing business and trade to more sectors. We think we can do more in terms of technology, infrastructure, resilience of our economies. We think we can do more in the areas of security, particularly maritime security, and we can do it together as U.S. Bangladesh, but we also can do it with the community of nations in this region and globally, and that's what we want to do. With regard to the sanctions, I know that this has been obviously a complicated and difficult issue here today. We did discuss it today, although I would say it was only a short part of a very rich and broad dialogue on all of these other subjects that we talked about. You do know that we have concerns about how the RAB has performed and about extrajudicial killings, about disappearances. That said, we have seen progress in the last 3 months with regard to remediating these things, and the Foreign Secretary made clear today, I won't speak for you, I'll let you speak for yourself, but that the government has zero tolerance for such things, that you are working on accountability, you are working on justice. We received a paper today with some of the government's plans, and we look forward to working together on these things because our security and counterterrorism cooperation is so important. Thank you.
No, I just want to add that, we had this discussion and we have given a non-paper dossier of the latest on RAB and its performance and also some of our initiatives. So they will take it back and look at it, and we'll continue our discussion in several formats, and hopefully this issue will be resolved in due course.
Madam Secretary, how do you see Bangladesh's position on Ukraine? Bangladesh took vibrant and independent position. How do you evaluate this?
Well, first of all, our condolences on the loss of Bangladeshi life in Ukraine. You have a long and deep relationship with Ukraine as well, including many students and professionals who have studied there. Bangladesh knows and understands the truth about what is happening here, that this is an unprovoked, brutal attack and a violation of sovereignty and territorial integrity of a democratic country, that Russia has spurned efforts that we all made to solve this diplomatically rather than going to war, and that all democracies now need to stand together. And I am confident that we will stand together in speaking the truth about this and trying to bring an end to this war and restoring peace and security.
Excellency Noland, my question is about Indo-Pacific. You are aware that Bangladesh is keen about the economic and business aspects of Indo-Pacific. Is there any element like this? Second question is, Bangladesh, you are engaged in Jaisalmer and Aqsa and other defense issues. What progress are there so far?
So we'll make this the last question because I don't want to be late for the.
Just a small supplement. So you want to strengthen the relations with Bangladesh. So how do you expect to strengthen the relation by imposing sanctions on an elite force of the country?
So I think we spoke to the RAB issue. The United States is never going to be silent when we see human rights abuses and when we see violations of basic laws. So we talked about it. We're going to continue to work through it because our continued cooperation in law enforcement and in counterterrorism is important. With regard to the Indo-Pacific strategy, there are economic elements, there are security elements, there are technology elements, and we'd love to see Bangladesh be involved in as much of it as you are interested in being involved with. And finally, on Jaisalmer, which is the gateway to being able to do more on the security front. Today we passed a draft agreement, and we are very confident that we'll be able to get this issue settled so that we can do more on the security side together, and that's what we look forward to. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
And thank you, Foreign Secretary.